Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer. Today I'm pretty proud to bring a guest on our YouTube channel who's a long friend and especially for me an idol in many things about thinking the money systems. And I'm pretty happy today to present Niklas Nikolajsen here in Switzerland in Zug. Thank you, Niklas, for having you today and for the time that you spent our audience.
It's such a pleasure to see an old friend, so welcome to my home.
Thank you, Niklas, for having us here. And yeah, we saw a little bit before in your home, and it's like a wonderland for people who love special things. So
it is one big museum.
Of course it is. And I know that you're also moving to a much crazier place later, but I think we will talk about it in the meantime of the video. So today we will talk about gold and silver, but also about his favorite topic. This is Bitcoin. Eh? So many people will know you of Galileo. I think this was a breakthrough of the social media knowledge of Niklas Nikolajsen. You were famous in many countries before, I guess, but many people call you the Bitcoin billionaire. So can you tell something about your person, who you are, and what brought you to the point where you are right now?
Well, I moved to Switzerland from Denmark. I'm originally Danish, and I'm still Danish, but in a few weeks I will be Swiss, I hope. Fingers crossed. I moved here to Switzerland 10 years ago, and I did that to start a business working with what I perceive as a form of gold 2.0, Bitcoin. And Denmark is not very business friendly, and especially not for fintechs. So I thought moving to Switzerland was a good idea. I'm originally a software architect, but now I'm considered an important Swiss banker. At least I made the top 100 list 5 years in a row.
We will show it here. So I was very impressed that he's really now on the list. And so I saw that you were on top of Rothschild or any Rothschild on this list. So I guess this is an honor to be on the list, especially when you are here since only 10 years, or I don't know, especially.
I think I tied a few times with the Swiss head of the Rothschild family, but normally he's a little bit ahead. And there are bigger Rothschilds out there. So I'm no Rothschild, at least not yet.
But this is an own list, I guess, so you won't find them on this list, maybe. So the Swiss bankers are normally sitting in Zurich. So you have the UBS and all these famous Swiss banks, but you are disrupting the bank business. So are you not an enemy for them, or how you handle this topic?
I do think that some people think so on the short term, but I do think that that hard currencies long term will be a benefit for all, also for the banks, because the current system that we have, the current monetary system, is not healthy for anybody and not long-time viable even for the banks. 5 years ago, many of them called me a financial terrorist because Bitcoin is a little bit upsetting, doing to money what maybe Uber did to the taxi industry or what Airbnb did to the hotel industry. But today, Bitcoin, at least in Switzerland, is very mainstream. And now I'm less considered a financial terrorist and maybe more of a little bit of a visionary. Their words, not mine.
I heard also that this city, Zug, also offers the people the possibility to pay their tax by Bitcoin. Is it right?
That's correct. Since 2016, you could pay many of your public services here in Zug directly with crypto. Not only Bitcoin, but also Ethereum and now also other currencies. And you can also pay your taxes. You can found your company using crypto assets, not only paying for the company foundation, but also the company capital.
And I think it's interesting to go a little bit back because we met each other at 2011, I guess, anytime like this. I started our gold company and Niklas was starting the total risk Bitcoin business. So I thought, what crazy guy is this? I'm through, but...
It's been 10 years, isn't it amazing? And I must also say, I'm a little bit a fan of your work and you've also done great.
But I'm more your fan, and he's looking a little bit like a pirate, and I think this is his brand symbol. And the reason why I was following the story the whole time was because so this is the official version that I know, maybe you can tell your version, invested very early in Bitcoin and a lot. So can you maybe tell a little bit about this and why you had the feeling that this could be the disruption for the monetary system?
Yeah, sure. My first Bitcoin investment happened in the end of 2010 and in January 2011. And I remember it quite clearly. It was 2 purchases, but together I spent $770 on buying 1,000 Bitcoin, which would be in value today around 50 million euro. So I guess that was a good return on investment. But I can tell you very clearly what led me into Bitcoin in the first place. Well, first of all, I was a software architect in the banking industry. So that was, of course, a help. Bitcoin was easy for me to understand. But I was also a very big skeptic of how the monetary systems were set up and how they seem to benefit the few and not the many. How some people get to work for the money very hard and other people more or less get to make them for themselves. And that led me to be, well, a gold bug. And I guess you know the feeling, and I guess a lot of you know the feeling as well there. However, gold are a little bit impractical to use in transactions. Then we have to store the gold somewhere and then issue Guthaben or Gutscheine on the gold. And we tried that in the past, right? And what happened? Eventually they came and took the gold away. What was really needed, in my view, was that you could have a form of digital gold. So when I saw Bitcoin, I said, oh my God, that's it. That is the digital gold I've been looking for. And then I fell immediately in love. But I never completely lost the love of Bitcoin, as you can also see when you look around here.
We will talk
of gold, sorry.
I know what you meant. So we will look about this gold treasure he has, only a part of it, but it's impressive. And also a gold dealer becomes jealous when he sees this. So I'm always not jealous, but this is so beautiful. And I will tell it with...
Well, I bought a lot of it from you.
Thank you very much for this. So maybe this is also a reason why I love it that much. No. Let's talk a little bit more about the combination of Bitcoin and gold. So the last years you owned many Bitcoins, and you own still many Bitcoins, I guess. You told in another video that you are always reinvesting each month. But there's also some gold. So what do you think about the combination of gold and Bitcoin? Is there any fight between gold and Bitcoin? Because many people of the community say, hey, Bitcoin is the only right thing, or gold is the only right thing. How do you see the combination?
For me, there's not. And I think we must all pay homage to gold as, and for that matter, silver, as the godfather of sound money. Also, I don't know many people who held a gold coin in their hand and did not instantly know that it was valuable. It's just, I think it's called gold fever, and I've certainly been suffering from that. But it was not my love of money that led me into the financial space as much as it was my distaste of unfair systems, my distaste of fictional money funding wars and crazy political programs, and seeing, the hardworking people having their savings undermined by inflation. These things always bothered me a lot. And I was a very big proponent of some kind of a return to the gold standard, even though it was impractical in the sense that we tried it before. And, along the way, then first they took the convertibility and then they removed the gold from the banks themselves. But when I saw Bitcoin, I saw that here you had many of the same properties, scarce, right? It can't just be created out of nothing. You have to work hard to get it, and nobody can create it for themselves. Portable. Bitcoin is somewhat more portable than gold, but in the old days, in an analog world, gold is still very portable for value. Divisible. A little bit difficult with gold, much easier with Bitcoin to divide it. Fungible. One unit is worth another, right? 2 diamonds are not alike, but 2 1-kilogram gold bars are alike, and 2 Bitcoins are alike. All of these things Bitcoin fulfilled very well. And then it had what many people consider a weakness. It had no physical underlying. But at the same time, that's also the strength, because there's nothing that people can come and take. There's really only the Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, all kind of money is a common illusion that we grant to something and give it value. Not even gold per se has the value we attach to it, right? You can't really build tools with gold. You can't use it to construct houses. You can use it basically only for money and jewelry. Yeah, and a little bit there and so forth. But the vast value of gold is the money. Now, the dollar and the euro It has no value at all. We just decide that it has. And the same thing with Bitcoin. It technically has no value, but we can decide that it has, and it has a lot better properties than the euro and the dollar, I can tell you, because nobody can create it out of nowhere and nobody can screw you over with it. Nobody can say you are allowed to have it and you are not allowed to have it. Nobody can even take it from you if they are evil dictators. And these are the things the world needs. The world needs freedom and individual sovereignty over their own finances. If not, well, then you can see we have had world wars. We've had one disaster after another. I mean, the real wages in Europe have barely grown the last 20, 30 years. And this, I can tell you, is not the case with the politicians and the bankers. They're doing very well.
Of course, of course. So the central banks have the politics to expend the money very in an insane way. So the central bank, ECB central bank balance is nearly to 9 billion actually. So these are numbers that are growing faster than everything else. So can a monetary system exist without inflation? So we had it combined with gold and fiat money. But do you think when there's no way to give out debts and all this, the monetary system can exist on the base on Bitcoin? Or do you think this is also the blockchain or the technique that will be the combination with anything else? How do you see it?
So there's a lot of typically state-sponsored economists who will come and say you can never have a deflationary monetary system. But they are, of course, wrong because we had it. We had it for many, many years under the gold standard. And even before that, under the silver standard, money were typically deflationary. Unless, of course, the government, always the government, put copper into the silver coins and so forth. The argument that you will never be spending money on a cup of coffee because next year you can get it 1% cheaper is not really an argument. If you want a cup of coffee, this will not stop you from buying it. But it will make you want to save. And saving is not bad. Many economists will say, but if you're saving, you're not spending, and then there's no fuel in the economy. No, no, no. Saving creates the basis for investment into the capital system that we have, building the better tools, building the new factory. Saving is essential. Society cannot grow rich on spending. It can, however, go rich on saving and investing it into the capital apparatus of the society. So they are all wrong. And they will say, yeah, but we are the central bankers and we are distant from the political establishment. We are a completely neutral organization and we only do what's right for society. This was something that I always had a hard time believing. But when I saw Janet Yellen won directly from chairman of the Fed to be the US finance minister, then, I mean, it's starting to be a joke, right? It's two hands shaking in the same system. And it's a system that is not very good for anybody. The US government, if Biden has his way this year, will spend up to 4 times their intake in taxes. Up 4 times. They are probably going to create inflation this year that will hit normal citizens with 8 or maybe 9, or, I mean, the year is not over. It could even be 10%. And this is stealing from the common people.
Inflation is always stealing, but the people had no chance the last decades to go out, beside gold maybe, or also some properties that they bought and some rare things like expensive watches or anything. But before we go to inflation, I want to ask you something about a question that the most people are interested in. So, like, the founder of Bitcoin is called Satoshi Nakamoto, and this is the biggest secret because no one knows him. Had you ever the possibility to meet him, or do you have an idea who or what kind of group it was?
I think I have a pretty good idea, but I can prove nothing. It's essentially speculation. And it doesn't really matter because Bitcoin is very transparent. It's the same as arguing who was Archimedes. We need to know, otherwise we cannot trust geometry. But I do think I have a good idea. I think it was centered on a very visionary and very skilled software architect who lived in the San Francisco area in 2008 and 2009 when Bitcoin was really developed in the newsgroups. and he probably also had some help from at least 2 friends. He later died, and I think that's maybe also why Satoshi stopped appearing on the forum. Now, there are other theories, and I cannot say which one is true, and it doesn't really matter, but I would really like one day, if I got the chance here or in heaven or wherever, to say that was a magnificent piece of work.
All the knowledge that you have to build this crazy thing and this so smart thing, because it enhances all the monetary advantages that you have to have in one thing. Yeah, so in my eyes, it's nearly impossible to build it in one head. But yeah, maybe he was a very talented.
There's also something very beautiful with Bitcoin is that it's so simple. It's not a lot of code, but beautifully put together. And sometimes when smart people come around and solve something, they make something that was very complex, very simple. Like when we thought the Earth was in the center of the universe, the models of how the planet moved were crazily complex because we had to compensate for what was not really reality. But once Copernicus came around and said, what if we put the sun in the center? Everything fell into place, and you could even teach it to a child. The same thing with Bitcoin. It made something very complex, something that was even impossible, decentralized, hard money, that was electronic. It made it instantly possible. And the world has not even begun to see the benefit from this.
So do you own still a few Bitcoins of this that you bought the first time?
I have 475 of those very, very first Bitcoin left. Nice. Of the 1,000 Bitcoin I bought. Okay. Then I've added a lot since. But actually, the apartment we sit in here, I paid with some of those early Bitcoin. I think I paid actually 300 Bitcoin for this apartment, which in 2017 looked smart, but today I miss them a little bit. But hey, we also have to live.
And yeah, you have to live, and you made a progress with your new living space. It's building up. It's a construction area. I had the pleasure to see it 2 years ago, I guess. And I saw pictures on Facebook and social media that it's still a big progress. Maybe we can show here on this second a few drone pictures that we will do for the people to see what happens there. Why did you choose to live in such a nice place? And actually, it looks like much work that you have with it. So is there any vision that you have? Because I heard that you changed your name because of the house.
Wir sind hier im Salesianum. Wir machen hier Totalsanierung und einen Anbau von einer Einstellhalle. Momentan sind wir hier gerade am Betonieren. Das ist der St. Karlshof in Zug. Das ist ein denkmalgeschütztes Gebäude und in den Kapellen auf dem Grundstück ist damals unsere Schweizer Nationalhymne komponiert worden. Der Schweizer Psalm. Das ist die Nationalhymne, die wir heute immer noch haben. Das ist die erste Marti-Baustelle, die vollständig mit Bitcoins bezahlt worden ist. Bitcoin! Der Bauherr ist der Niklas Nikolajsen, der Gründer der Bitcoin Swiss AG. Das Schönste an dieser Baustelle ist, dass wir über den Mittag direkt in den See kommen, um uns zu erfrischen.
It's a really old building dating back from 1616, 2,200 square meters at the Zuger See. It's even the birthplace of Helvetia, the female personification of Switzerland. That idea also came from there. And then, funnily enough, it was built by the Hauptmünchmeister from Zug, Caspar Wissenbach. So that's also a connection to somebody making money or at least working in the financial scene. But it was also falling apart like a ruin. It's what you called a Handwerkerangebot, I think you call it. And nobody really wanted to touch it because these very strongly historically protected sites then you have to work very closely with the government, and they have to approve every little door frame and things. So, everybody didn't want to touch it. But I said, I've been working with the regulators and the banks and the financial system, and I can take a challenge. But it was such a big challenge to restore this house, and we are still not done, and we've been working 3.5 years, and there's still another 1.5 years that I also decided that I would change my name from Nikolajsen to von Karlshof, because, the family is starting now a new life in Switzerland. We will soon be Swiss. It's a nice German-sounding name, and it means from Karlshof. And I really put a lot of effort into this building. And you are on the list for the housewarming. And you cannot imagine the fireworks and the bands and the lineup.
I get goosebumps because I know he's not doing hard things. So when he's doing something, then it's a big thing. And thank you for the invitation. I guess we will have the possibility to come with our video team the next time, maybe there, and show the public. And I heard that you also let the people go in a part of this house, so you open it for the public. So is this a decision for a guy like you, who's not a little bit scared of this?
So all the big rooms, the Esshalle, the library, things that I don't use in a daily operation. Also the big Gastroküche where Michelin chefs can cook for 50 people, or you can have normal food for 150 people. All of these big rooms are not used daily. So people who live in Zug, they are most welcome if they have a wedding or a Taufen or something like that. Then they can write us, and then of course they are welcome to do it at the Karlshof. I should say that there was a public commitment when I bought the place. Die Öffentlichkeit muss ein gewisses Zutritt haben. But, I'm super happy to welcome people into, I don't consider that I own the place. I consider that I take care of it for the next generations, and it should really be shared with the other people in town.
Very nice idea. So when you own some Bitcoins and the Bitcoin price is rising and falling down and rising, and there are people like Elon Musk who's manipulating, in my eyes, the market price. How do you see the future of Bitcoin? And after it, so don't go out of the video. We will show some treasures that you can buy with Bitcoin. So in your opinion about the next maybe 1 or 2 years, is it a possibility for people to earn some money in this market, or maybe to store some value?
Well, it's currency speculation, or even speculation in precious metals on the short term can be very risky.
Yes.
I can confidently say you that if you buy a gold bar or a gold coin, or even a little bit of Bitcoin, the highest euro-denominated price of both gold and Bitcoin, it is not in the past, it's in the future. I can guarantee it. But be a little bit careful, because a lot of things can happen on the way to that point in the future. So put the money into gold and into Bitcoin that you won't need for the next 1, 2, 3 years. Okay, if a crisis happens, maybe you never know. But don't put in too much, because the worst thing is if you're forced to sell at a time that is not good for the asset that you hold. But I am absolutely convinced that if you have extra savings and you don't need to invest in your own business, which I always recommend, because there you have full control with anything, and want to put it in an asset class, gold and Bitcoin will not let you down.
You have a percentage that you would say, for a guy who is in a company that is working, you don't need investment in the company, for example, to invest free money, so a share, gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. What is your, this is not an investing in, how should I say, Anlageempfehlung.
This is not financial advice.
Financial advice, thank you.
So the laws of economics and supply and demand dictates that if you have a limited supply, and you do have limited supply with gold and with Bitcoin, the inflation rate in gold and Bitcoin is currently around the same, a little more than 1%. And it is also decreasing over time, at least on the Bitcoin side. Then if you have increased demand but limited supply, the price must give. And this, I am absolutely sure, is a little bit overdue for gold. I mean, we are just waiting. We've been waiting since years, but I can wait a long time. It will happen. Gold will have to rise in value to at least twice where it is now. And it will do that within the next 5 years. That I can say.
4K is the goal that you see on Bitcoin.
I'm trying to be pessimistic here because it's easier to price on the positive side. Bitcoin will do the same, but right now we've just been close to an all-time high. Yeah. So if I had €100 that I wanted to save for the future, I would probably consider going 50-50 with Bitcoin and gold. Gold for the really long-term, super secure storage, but gold can also be a little bit expensive to buy and sell. Bitcoin is much cheaper to buy and sell, but of course also more risky. But that's not a bad thing to do. I just wouldn't buy everything in one go. I would say I buy a third today, and then I wait 2 months, and then I buy a third, and then I wait 2 months, and then I buy a third. Then you get a nice dollar cost average, and if it drops, well, then you can get more and get the average price down. But if it rises like this, you're still in the game. So that's what I would do. But I would be sure that I spend the money that I know that I'm not going to need for 2 years. Then both gold and Bitcoin will be a very good investment.
So I can, I am with you. So the people are often asking me, hey, Mr. Kettner, it was a bad decision to buy gold when Bitcoin made this this outbreak in about multiples of, I don't know if you can count them, but I'm also on the same view. Also, earlier I thought Bitcoin is a chance to just gamble with the money, but now I understood what you shared with the people, and I'm very thankful to share with our community, because I think both communities have to grow together. And we are also working on a way to offer our customers to buy gold in Bitcoin or later also sell. This is a thing that needs a little bit more work in the background, but this is a big goal, and we want to open also for the Bitcoin community to buy gold. And before we go to take a look on the treasures, one last thing. So the states see often a problem in Bitcoin, and the regulators see a problem in it. And in Germany, there's talkings or the whispers in the background that's saying 27.5% if you hold it longer than 1 year. Also gold will be taxed maybe. Do you see this as a problem for investing in a value like this, when there should be tax on it?
So capital gains tax.
Yeah, capital gains tax.
Well, it's is it a problem when people come and take your money? Yeah, I would say it's a problem. Unfortunately, these are guys with bigger sticks. It should not keep you away from making sound financial investments. And the reason is that even if they come and take away 27.5% or how much it is in Germany, it's still a lot better than if you do go out and spend all the money on movies and burgers. Then you're not going to end up with anything. I can say for sure, maybe a little bit fatter. So at least in the other version, you end up with at least 70% or 72.5%, or depending on the. But it is not very fair to put capital gains tax of such a high degree. It limits people's availability to invest. And when you limit people's availability to invest, then you are slowing down the economy, because the savings that people make are the future factories. They are the future risk-taking capital. They are the future of people trying to make businesses. And many will fail, but some will succeed, and they will make the products of the future. So I don't think it's a very nice way to do it. However, I think that inflation is maybe even worse, because it specifically goes after the people who have very little, right? That are on fixed incomes or only have a pension and so forth. Taxes are, in my view, not very fair. It's something we have to deal with. But, in the future, there will be a day through sound money where governments will not come with big sticks and force you to pay for all of their. And it's even worse in other parts of the world than in Europe. At least in Europe, we have somewhat decent governments, but, in Africa and China, not so much. They will take even your kidneys if they have value. There will be a future where this is laughed upon, and where governments will be asking you if you want their services, just like everybody else. And this future, crypto and also Bitcoin, And for that matter, also gold will help to bring about sound money.
And do you see the risk that there's some states that will, like China, try to tell the people that they can forbid Bitcoin? Because something that the people have to understand is that you can't forbid something that you have to control about. And I think many people have the mindset that they just keep their money inside the blockchain, the system, yes? How do you see this with gold, also with Bitcoin in the next years?
Well, we've seen gold bans before, right? Yeah. The American gold ban of 1933 or 1932 was like crazy. So things like that can happen. However, if you looked at the American gold ban, where you had to turn in all bullion that was not like your wedding rings and stuff to the government at a fixed price, and the next day they rose the official price with 1.5, just robbing the people. Only, around 20-30% of the gold was actually delivered back. In Bitcoin and in crypto, draconian measures will be even harder to enforce. This is perhaps what the regulators don't like, but nobody has a problem paying some fair taxes. But once government gets excessive, and don't forget that at least half of the world live in dictatorships where the biggest, baddest criminal is not Al Capone. No, it's the president, right? There, it's important to have systems that allow for freedom. Otherwise, well, then, when the bandit walks in and takes control of the state apparatus, you're fucked. I mean, you saw it in Germany in the 30s. It's not a fun thing to have.
Many times in the history. Also properties, yes, the Lastenausgleich. There are so many things where the...
But I don't think Bitcoin can and will become illegal. And the reason is that Bitcoin is just mathematics. And it's very difficult to make an argument for making mathematics illegal. But you can be sure that along the way, the government will want its cut as it wants of everything else. We can then discuss if that's fair or not fair. But stopping Bitcoin by now, nah. Maybe in 16 it could have been possible. But now I really know too many presidents who own Bitcoin.
So the good advice is hide your gold and hide your Bitcoins as good as you can. And now we...
No, I advise full tax compliance, of course.
I'm just kidding, of course. Thank you. Now we are going to the very interesting part for the gold. Also the Bitcoin bucks. We have some special things to show there, and let's make a move.
Okay.
Dankeschön.